Chapter 18. Aramis surrenders. Silent and trembling, Aramis rose to his feet. Though able to stand, he was not able to walk. Something of Porthos, now dead, had just died within him. So, the Bretons lifted him gently and carried him to the boat. Barely half an hour after their sail had been raised, the Bretons spied a white spot on the horizon. But for some time, they did not disturb Aramis, for he seemed lost within himself as if he, too, had departed this world. An hour passed, and the white spot became a sail. Yves shook Aramis gently. "Monseigneur, we are being chased." Aramis made no reply, and the ship gained upon them. Yves lowered the sail to make their boat more difficult to spot from afar. But that evening, a full moon exposed them to the merciless pursuit of the bigger ship. A cloud of smoke appeared under the sails. The passengers in the small boat watched as a cannonball bounced across the waves toward them, then sank harmlessly. "It is a warning to us," said Aramis. As the night wore on, the vessel drew nearer. At last it came within musket shot. All of its crew were on deck, arms in hand. The cannoneers were at their guns, ready to fire. "Surrender!" boomed the captain. The Bretons looked at Aramis for orders. He nodded, and Yves waved a white cloth in the air. "You shall all go free," announced the captain, "except for Monseigneur d'Herblay." Aramis paled. "Shall we accept his terms?" asked Yves. "Yes," said Aramis, "accept." And he raised his head and drew himself up. With flashing eyes and a smile upon his lips, Aramis addressed the bigger ship as if he, and not its captain, was in command. "Throw out the ladder." He was obeyed. Seizing the rope ladder, Aramis ascended the king's ship. Walking up to the captain with a firm step, Aramis surrendered and was led away. Later that night, Aramis came up on deck and stood looking over the ship's railing in the direction of Belle Isle. The captain found him there the next morning, in that same spot. The night must have been very humid, the captain thought to himself, for the wooden railing on which the bishop's head had been resting is soaked with dew. But that dew was, perhaps, the first tears which had ever fallen from the eyes of Aramis d'Herblay, tears of tribute to his good friend Porthos. Chapter 19. D'Artagnan's decision. Several days later, D'Artagnan arrived at the palace and was shown into the king's rooms. He stood at attention until Louis spoke. "Well, monsieur, what have you to say to me?" "Sire?" replied D'Artagnan. "I have nothing to say to your majesty. You had me arrested, and here I am." Louis stared hard at the captain of the musketeers for several moments, then he spoke. "What did I order you to do at Belle Isle? Why ask me, sire? Instead, why not ask your officers, those spies who disgraced me before my army? Have you forgotten what your two friends have done to me?" demanded the king. "I lost 106 men at Belle Isle." D'Artagnan beamed with pride. "And the rebels?" he asked eagerly. "I truly regret having to tell you that your good friend Porthos lies buried under the rocks of Loch Maria." D'Artagnan paled. "Oh, good Porthos!" he cried. "What a noble life has been sacrificed for the vanity of a king!" "Monsieur, I am tolerating your words because I understand your grief. However, you may be heartened to know that your friend Aramis has escaped to Spain. But no matter. Let us return to the business that brought you here. Monsieur, you have a choice: forget what is past, judge me from this day forward, and continue to serve me, or resign and flee into exile. Sire, for 30 years I have served your father in war and you in peace. I have always held a position that permitted me to speak freely to my king. But now it seems that I am simply to be a guard at your doors, groveling at your feet." D'Artagnan sighed, then went on. "If this is so, I shall do it, sire. Not because I need money, for I have enough. Not because I am ambitious, for I am old and my career will soon come to an end. No, I shall remain because for 30 years my life has been devoted to serving my king." "Thank you, my faithful friend," said Louis. "Not only will you have my devotion in return, but from this day forward, I shall work toward finding the best opportunity for sending you on a mission in which you can earn the fleur-de-lis baton of a marshal, the highest rank an officer can earn." "Thank you, sire. That has been my lifelong dream." Chapter 20. The End of the Musketeers. 4 years passed, 4 years in which D'Artagnan aged 12. His hair was balding, his face had grown wrinkled, and his beard was white. Still, he sat gracefully and proudly in the saddle. He had ridden into the forest at Blois this day to join Louis on a hunt, when a messenger approached to announce that the Duke of Amida had arrived from Spain to visit the king. "The Duke of Amida," said D'Artagnan, puzzling to place the name among the foreign noblemen he knew. Just then, a carriage pulled up and the door was thrown open. "It is I!" cried an old man, white as snow, as he came out the door. "Aramis!" cried D'Artagnan in amazement. And he rushed to embrace his friend warmly. "I have made peace with Louis," explained Aramis, "and I now serve as the Spanish ambassador to France, bringing Spain's help in his war against Holland." A war in which I shall lead Louis' army," said D'Artagnan proudly, "and perhaps, at long last, earn my marshal's baton. In this, I have promised Louis a total victory." "The Duke of Amida." "A war in which I shall lead Louis' army," said D'Artagnan proudly, "and perhaps, at long last, earn my marshal's baton. In this, I have promised Louis a total victory, or my life." "'Tis sad, my friend," said Aramis with a sigh, "that our youth is gone and we cannot fight side by side the 3 musketeers who still live." "3? Alas, dear Aramis, then word did not reach you in Spain? Our dear Athos is dead." "May his soul rest in peace," said Aramis with lowered eyes. "Do not grieve, dear Aramis. Athos' death was peaceful, I am told. And so, my friend, the 4 musketeers are now but 2. "Yes, we are now but 2, said Aramis, "and I am old and tired. Perhaps when I return to Spain, we may never see each other again." And the two friends embraced for what was to be the last time. That spring, D'Artagnan set out for Holland, the general in command of an army of 12,000 men devoted to their skillful, wise and brave leader. After taking 12 cities in a month, D'Artagnan prepared for the final battle of the war. Upon hearing of these 12 victories, King Louis made ready to keep his promise to D'Artagnan. He placed a small ebony box lined with gold in the hands of an envoy, and sent him, along with a guard of 5 men, to D'Artagnan's battle site. They arrived on Dutch soil in the midst of a fierce battle that had been going on for 5 days. D'Artagnan was standing amid cannon fire on the plain surrounding the besieged city when a voice came up behind him. "Monsieur D'Artagnan, I have a message from the king. He commands me to inform you that he has named you Marshal of France as a reward for your brilliant services, and he wishes you success in this last siege." As he finished, the envoy signaled to a guard to bring forward the ebony box. But as the new marshal was accepting it, a loud explosion resounded from the city. D'Artagnan strained to see the city's walls through the smoke. "It is strange that I do not yet see the French flag flying on the walls," he said. And he ordered an officer to launch one last attack. Turning his back to the envoy, D'Artagnan raised his hand to open the box. At that moment, a cannonball came hurtling toward him, crushing the box in his arms and striking him full in the chest. D'Artagnan fell to the ground in a heap, and the fleur-de-lis baton, the long-dreamed-of baton, fell from the box and rolled under his limp hand. As D'Artagnan struggled to raise himself, a terrible cry broke from his officers. Their beloved leader was covered with blood, and the paleness of death was creeping over his face. Dropping to their knees, the loyal men supported their marshal's head. D'Artagnan turned his eyes toward the city. The white flag of surrender was flying from the walls. Clutching his marshal's baton in his now numb hand, D'Artagnan cast his closing eyes down on it, murmuring, "Athos, Porthos, au revoir. Aramis, adieu forever." Of the 4 brave men who changed the course of the history of France, there remained but one. The days of the musketeers had drawn to a close,